Hi there, my name is Jaden, here as always for foamarmory, and today we're going to be doing a makeup tutorial for Captain Rex. Check it out. So today's tutorial is going to be sort of an interesting one, because on the one hand we have Captain Rex as he exists in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. On the other hand, we have Jango Fett himself, Temuera Morrison. I think that there's a lot of elements of the cubist structure of Star Wars: The Clone Wars that we're going to get into here, but there's also elements of the man himself that can only translate from a real face to a real face. So we're going to kind of get somewhere in between. First things first, I will not be shaving my head down for this build, but I will be tidying it up, and for that we turn to Tresemme. So once we've got our hair all styled the way we want it, Captain Rex is actually blonde in the show, but he's like cartoonishly blonde, so I'm going to attempt to do something here. I'd like to use some of this white colored hairspray, and then over top of that, a little bit of this yellow colored hairspray. And I'm hoping that somewhere between these two we'll have sort of a cartoon blonde. Awesome, so that actually worked out pretty well. I get that it's a very bright, sort of vibrant yellow, but it's a lot duller than just right out of a can. And of course, this is sort of a cartoon build, so this is actually super appropriate. We are going to go ahead and start with some base. For this, I will be using mostly Ben Nye products. These are cream-based makeups. They are a lot of fun, they have great coverage, they will definitely clog every single one of your pores, so, you know, bear that in mind. And we're just gonna start dabbing that right on. I definitely use a very red base, and that's just because my skin is naturally quite red. But you will, of course, want to put a foundation on that sort of matches you. We're not trying to match the skin tone of Captain Rex. I think that's maybe in an area we don't want to get into, but we do want to match some of the features of the face, so a good base will help with that. For those of you like me with facial hair, you're going to want to really dab it down and into the areas that you might miss if you're just sort of dabbing lightly, because we want a nice solid base to work on. A lot of these effects are going to require it. So now that we've got our base applied all over, we're going to keep that on hand just in case we make you know, any mistakes, because we make mistakes sometimes. First things first, I am going to do a couple of minor edits to the way my face looks. You can see on the makeup chart that I have provided that I am extending my upper lip just a little bit because I have a very thin upper lip, and that's not going to quite work out for the very square features that we want. So I'm actually going to mix a little bit of this pink here with just a dab of my contour to make it a little darker. We're just going to go right over my current lip and then extend it up just a little bit. And then of course we're just going to even that out on the bottom here. And it's okay if it's a little bit messy now, because we're going to be adding some features on in a moment. I know right now I just look absolutely fabulous, but this is going to look a lot more angular in a moment. To kick off our contouring, I'm actually going to take a little bit of powder here, just a slightly darker shade, and I'm just going to kind of build in a pretty heavy line across the cheek here. We can go pretty far with this makeup because we're going for a very, very harsh look, and once we add powder over the top of this, it's gonna even out a lot more. And I'm gonna add a little bit underneath my chin as well, because we are going to really need to darken down that area. Let's go in with some more specific contouring. We are going to really deepen this to give it that sort of cartoon sunken look, and just really trace it in there. We can afford to be pretty garish here. We actually want it to be pretty intense because it's a square. So, awesome. We're already getting somewhere here. And next, I'm going to add this sort of an extra line here to get that sort of chiseled look, and I'm actually going to line that up with my dimples. And we're just going to trace up and over. Next, I'm going to go ahead and do my temples. I'm going to leave that cranial ridge pretty intense here, and just try not to get any yellow from our hair on our face. Much more intense. We love it. And then I'm going to sort of outline the edge of my nose too here. Then we're also going to kind of flatten out my nose with a line here. We're also going to sink our eyes in here just a little bit. And now we're going to really extra bonus define our jaw here. Yeah, that is the shape we're looking for. And I haven't added any of the wrinkles yet because I'm actually going to go through and do some highlights real quick. Now we're going to go in with the nose first because that is a very, very sharp shape. Let's be a little more aggressive here and try to do our cheekbone. It's already looking very gritty. We're going to go ahead and start just working across our face here. I'm going to add in more of a Cupid's bow, and we're just going to kind of paint through my facial hair for this one, because the effect will still be pretty strong. And then that is also an excuse to outline our newly drawn Cupid's bow. And it's subtle, but it works. And now let's do the chin. He has a very round chin in real life, which is more what we're going for here, because the chin in the TV show is not a real shape, to the point where I don't think we could convincingly pull it off in real space. And I get this is very stark, this is very intense right now. We're gonna dull it back down, but it's gotta be intense right now. Let's do the forehead real quick. This is also going to be very sharp, so we're just gonna run it right up that forehead line. Now, I'm gonna do a couple of wrinkles, and those wrinkles are gonna be really important because they're gonna give some more definition to these shapes, but they're kind of weird. So in the show, he's got some very straight lines. We're not gonna do that because that won't move well with her face. We're gonna kind of copy what her face already has and contour. And then we're gonna take a little bit from the real guy, and we're going to make sort of another one that's very broken. Going for a look that says there's a lot of depth in those wrinkles, as well as the wrinkles that sort of rest around the brow here. Very angular, these lines. A little bit more highlight right in the groove of these to make this look extremely square. Just like that. I'm actually going to break this up just a little bit more. Let the highlight come through these shapes just a little. And now we're going to add the highlight that is the edge of the jaw. And believe it or not, the brightest part of this, you really want it to be the corner of the jaw. You want that to be as square as possible. We're really starting to get somewhere now. Now I'm going to add some very intense brow lines in here because Rex's brows are basically just triangles, but we have real people brows that we don't necessarily want to cover, so we're gonna try to work with that. A nice sharp angle at the peak there. And then for good measure on the wrinkles, I'm actually going to take just a little bit of black and apply it to the edge to really pop it out. Now comes the special secret sauce. We are going to take some powder with a nice soft brush. Just tap this in. It'll really knock some of this down, and it'll also soften all of our shapes. And with that, I think we're gonna call this done. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to put out the Captain Rex helmet tutorial. Till then, I've been Jaden. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care.